Hey, I just built a client onboarding automation that saved 10 hours per week and everything happens within minutes. Okay, I'm in my N8N instance and in the workflow, as you can see, it's pretty lengthy. A lot of nodes out here. Don't worry about it. We're going to go step by step on how it works as well. So first of all, we're going to execute this workflow. It's triggered based on a HubSpot deal created. So I'm going to go ahead and create a deal. Once the deal is closed one, it will trigger that workflow. So I'm going to create the deal in closed one to begin with. Now it will trigger this workflow and all of it is gonna go ahead and work sequentially. So once it's done, I'm gonna come back to you and guide you how it works in the backend. Okay, it stopped executing, took a fair amount because there are a lot of steps that needs to be taken. But initially, it just went ahead and triggered based on a HubSpot deal created, gets all of the details inside that HubSpot account, and then goes ahead and creates 6 different folders neatly formatted in the SEO folder. So I currently built that for an SEO agency, so that's why it created 6 different folders based on that specific client. As you can see on Honorific Labs, it creates all of the templates or the sheets that are currently used as well. So it duplicates everything and creates every template inside these folders neatly formatted as well. So if you go to multiple folders, there will be a lot of templates that are over there to begin with that you currently go ahead and use, and there are a lot of subfolders as well. It then goes ahead and creates a ClickUp workspace with all of the built-in statuses, tasks, all of the automations. Basically everything you built from scratch, it built with an automation. As you can see, it also real-time updates the status as well. Currently it's on hold because I did not reply to it, and it also goes ahead and sent us a couple of emails, actually quite a few. So one is a welcome email that onboards them. Then then the others are telling them to fill out a certain sheet so we can get all the details before we have to get the all required details to start working for them. If they have not filled that, it follows up with them a couple of times, as well for a couple of other sheets as well. So it goes ahead and do everything within this automation. Now that's high level, right? It connects HubSpot, ClickUp, Google Drive, and Gmail, and a couple of other nodes as well. So that was a high level. Now let's jump into the build and see step by step how it operates on a deeper level. Okay, before we get into the build, let's just go over a high level how the build works. I always like to draft up the build in Excalibur so I could have a high level overview of what I am gonna build. It's much easier for me to go and reference this back as well once I'm stuck, if I'm stuck, or makes the build a lot easier. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a HubSpot trigger. The way we're gonna create it is we're gonna be creating a custom app inside HubSpot, and then we're going to integrate our webhook with N8N with the HubSpot app. Now, for that, I'll just guide you step by step on how to do it. It's really simple. There are 2 ways to do it. Once we are done, we're going to add an if node, and we're going to get the deal information out of that HubSpot webhook. So HubSpot just sends minimal payload, as minimal as it can. So we're going to have to extract that via HubSpot get deal node inside N8N. Afterwards, what we're going to do is we're going to route it based on what services we are providing the client. So for this instance, I'm using SEO, PPC, web, or any other services that will enable us to go to the route that is much more efficient and tailored to that exact service that we're providing to the client, because every service has different logic and different workflows in to begin with. Then we'll be creating a Google Drive setup. So if you saw that, we'll be creating several Google Drive folders, subfolders within them, and templated files. So each have to be exact setup based on the service we provide. In this instance, we're just using code node and a couple of drive nodes as well, Google Drive nodes, to create that neatly formatted Google Drive folders. Afterwards, we're going to create a ClickUp project based on a template. So we're going to templatize that exact project, all the automations, the status, the task, everything inside that templated version will be exactly copy pasted inside the new client folder inside ClickUp as well. And then we're going to go ahead and send a couple of Gmails, and then we're going to verify that if they have went ahead and filled out the sheet, so we have all the information we need. If they haven't, we'll just go ahead and nudge them and follow up with them, and after a couple of days, if that has not been filled, we'll escalate that directly inside ClickUp to let you guys know, or the owner know, that the sheet has not been filled. Go ahead and manually take over. After that, we are done with the client onboarding. So once everything is done, all the drive folders are done, the ClickUp space is done, the sheets access are done, and all the sheets are updated. All the tasks will be set to a specific status inside ClickUp, and we will be done for the initial part of the onboarding. So that was a high level overview about how the system works. Now let's jump into N8N and deep dive in node by node and see how it works in the backend. All right, so initially what we want is we want to get data from HubSpot inside N8N so we can manipulate it and start our trigger. So we're going to be using HubSpot N8N's webhook. So we're gonna have a post webhook. We're gonna copy this, and we're gonna go back to HubSpot. So initially, there are two ways to do it. We can do it via automations as well. If you can go ahead and see, we can do workflow automation directly inside an N8N. So if a deal is created, it'll just go ahead and trigger that webhook all in all without us doing all of this technical jargon in the backend. But for that, you will need a higher tier of HubSpot. I don't have that, so I'm gonna be using a hacky way to incorporate that without paying fees to HubSpot. So how we're gonna do is we're gonna go back. We're gonna log into HubSpot, and you're gonna go and search for development in the left sidebar. You're gonna click that. A window like this will pop up. So let it load. I'm gonna show you. A little window like this will pop up. You're gonna go to legacy apps. You're gonna create a new app, and you're gonna set it private so nobody other than you can access it. You can go ahead and name it whatever you want. I really like this name, Panicky Umbrella. I wonder what that means. So for the scopes, the scope basically means what you are allowing the app to access. So depending on what you want the app to do, you can go ahead and pick any scope you want. But for your ease, I'll just go ahead and pick every single one of them. So don't have to go back and forth. But I'll also guide you through what scopes we need in order to have this app function the way we want. Okay, I pulled up all the scopes. So basically, we need 5 scopes for this app to function. The read deals node, the write deals, the sensitive read, the deals read, and the sensitive deals highly read. What you don't understand, you don't have to understand what it means, but on a high level, what this does is it enables the HubSpot application to go ahead and read and write to all of the deals that you are creating or have been creating inside HubSpot. So the way you're going to do is you're going to just copy this one and paste this in. You're gonna click this, and you're gonna repeat that flow for all 5 of them. I'm gonna do that, and once I do that, I'll just go ahead and circle back. Okay, I created all of the scopes. You don't have to worry about the stranger. It's a private app, so nobody except you can access this. So don't worry about that. It's just for them to understand it. So initially, what I did was created 5 scopes within HubSpot, and all of these have similar tasks. So it can read or write to your HubSpot deals pipeline. So we can extract data and write data back to it from N8N directly. For this, we only need to get data. So read scope are efficient, but for our ease, I'm just going to go ahead and do the write one as well. So you don't have to understand what this means. Just copy or screenshot this and just paste it directly in your HubSpot instance. It'll do the job for you. Now afterwards, the main part is for this to trigger based on our deal change, and we have to get that data directly in HubSpot. So the easiest way to do it is go ahead and copy this. For you, this instance, I'm going to use test URL, but once you're doing the production one, you will have to click to production and copy this one. But for this one, I'm just going to go and paste this in. Now that's our webhook payload. So every time the deal is changed in a certain way, it'll throw that payload or trigger that N8N workflow inside N8N, right? So we also have to create a subscription. So based on the exact thing we want, it'll trigger it. For example, the object type. What object type do we want? We want to change it on, trigger it on a deal type object. Now, what event we want is we want to change it on a property change. The property change means for any of the change in the stage in the pipeline, we will just trigger that workflow, right? And in the end, we can filter based in it and what deal we want. And the property we want is closed one, right? So once the deal is in closed one, meaning that we have closed the deal and the person is ready to be onboarded, we'll just go ahead and trigger that workflow, right? So once we're done, I'm just gonna move myself over here. All right, so once we're done, we're gonna subscribe to this link, and that's it. You're gonna create that app, continue creating, doesn't matter. We'll get an access token. Don't worry about that. That is not necessary. We just need it to trigger based on a certain thing. That's all. You're done. Now, once you go to the deal one and create a deal and change its stage, it'll trigger this scenario. Now, once you do that, you'll get a payload inside webhook, that just like we tested initially when I was starting out the video. Now, as you can see, it's very minimal. We're not getting a lot of data in this one, right? So the way to do is you have to test it out a couple of times, but initially we want the property ID so we can input it inside HubSpot's get deal or the object ID. So the way to do it, you'll just go ahead and initially first time trigger that workflow based on closed one. Once you get the closed one, HubSpot does not send the names as object ID. You have to go ahead and figure out the number. So instead of a name, they'll just send you a specific number that is associated with that object or that specific deal. So in order to find that, you'll just go ahead and trigger that based on the closed one or any type of pipeline you want. It'll send that data and just you drag and drop it over here inside the get deal node, right? And make sure to add an if node that if the property value is equal to closed one, example in my instance is this a couple of numbers, so that means basically closed one in HubSpot language. I don't know why to do that, but we have to make do with what we can. So once you do that, you'll just drag that in and it'll just get you all the value of the deals, the name, the email, the contact, everything you filled basically inside that deal. It'll get you and spit it out over here, right? So inside that you have to make a field called service type. That way initially that what I did, that is what I did. And we're going to be routing based on the service that we are providing the client. So if the service type is SEO, it'll route it to the SEO path, and if it's PPC, it'll route it downwards to the PPC path. Really simple. That's the HubSpot part dealt with. Now that's the juicy part, right? So as you can see, I have a lot of code nodes over here, right? And now I don't know how to code, but I'm gonna guide you exactly how I came up with this logic as well. So in order to create a Google Drive folder, we need the Google Drive ID. Now there are two ways you can do that. You can set that already in the set fields with all of the variables that you want, for example, the client name or the client email. We're gonna setting that so we can extract that later on for different nodes. Now initially what I did was the easiest way to do it is going to go to your folder, any folder you want that the automation or the N8N workflow should create folders inside that, and you're going to copy this your the ID. So if you can see, it's like folders dash 16rgf after folders dash, that's your ID. You're going to copy that and you're going to paste that inside the set node. That is all you have to do, and rest of the automation will do the job for you. Now, initially for the code node, what it's doing is I just gave Claude Code a screenshot of my folder structure, or I just verbally told him all my folder structure and what I was trying to do with the N8N scenario. So I went to the JSON. You can't see it right now, but once you execute it, you will see it right here. But I just copied this JSON, gave it to Claude Code, and just told him that here's my file structure, right? Go ahead and create me a code node that will do exactly this via different Google nodes, right? And it just went ahead and spit this code node to me. I pasted it, and it actually worked the first time, and then it'll just loop over as long as it needs until the folders have been created. And once it's done, it'll just go ahead and create a workflow over here. All right. So initially, what we'll do is the code node will go ahead and create us a couple of items. Now let's just go ahead and trigger the workflow in the backend from the beginning, so I could show you how it works end to end, and we could take things from over there. Actually, you know what? Instead of creating and triggering the workflow end to end, I thought why not just guide you node by node and execute the node by node and take you with me on how this works. So I just went ahead and executed the get a deal node. Now initially what it did was gave me all of the details I needed. So initially, now all you have to do is map it inside the F node. So if you guys see, if you just search the whatever field you want inside this search term, instead of going through all of this big ass schema, you'll just go over and search the SEO. For my example, it just give you the value, just copy and drag it over here. Is equal to SEO and is equal to PPC. That's all we need, right? Once we execute that, it'll just let me just once we execute that, it'll just route it based on the SEO fields. Now we'll just go ahead and copy the exact URL or the Google Drive ID in edit fields. I'll just go ahead and map that over here. And now as for the client name and the client email, you'll do the same. You'll go to HubSpot deal and you'll search whatever name you actually typed in. So for my instance, I typed Honorific Labs. So we're going to type that. That'll come up. You'll just paste that in the client name. As for the client email, just go ahead and list your email. Just go ahead and map this over here. Very simple. I'm sure you guys can figure that out as well. I don't want to do that. Anyways, now that's done. All you have to do is you'll just execute that workflow end to end right here. And I'll just show you how it works in the end. So once that done, you'll just go ahead and trigger this code node and it'll dump everything into a new loop node. So it'll loop over every single workflow or every single folder until it has been done, and it'll just go to the other route to create ClickUp folders. So as you can see now, it's creating the first folder and stating if it has subfolders in it, we'll just go ahead and create the subfolders. If it does not have subfolders in it, you just go ahead and have another if node to check that if that main folder have templated files in it. If it does not, it'll just go ahead and skip that as well and go back to square one. And it'll keep on doing that, checking the nodes again and again until it has done everything according to our use case. Now, initially, I'm sure it does not make sense to you and it's pretty complex as well. But instead of just chaining like 17 to 20 Google Drive nodes into one big ass workflow and creating it all messy, I thought why not just create a code node and incorporate that into the drive. It's easy to debug as well. So what it's doing is on a high level is I'm not going to go node by node in this one because it's the complexity is too much for me to make you understand over this instance until you have the scenario built in and you know what we're doing. But in this instance, what we're doing is just creating 7 folders inside Google Drive, creating subfolders if it has that in the major folder, and creating templated files inside those subfolders if it has that as well. So there are a lot of logic going on in this. Once this is done, I'll go to my Google Drive and show you how on a high level the folders are being created. Hopefully that will give you a gist as well. So that's done. Let's go to our SEO folder inside Google Drive. Now, the big 7, if you can see that I named this the big 7. These are the 7 folders that have to be made for every client. And it has the client name at the end as well. So now all we have to do is go into this ClickUp and see, all right, we have 2 subfolders. All right, so this will go ahead and pass that, and this route will be taken place. As you can see, this route, the code and the subfolders one. This route will be taken place and it'll create subfolders inside the big 7 content folder. And now once that done, it'll just go ahead and check if it needs the templated files inside that big 7 as well. If that passes, it'll just go ahead and copy all of the files as well, as you can see over here. The same goes for every single one of these Google nodes. I'm sure this right now will go over your head. So the only easiest way I could do for you is give you this template in the link below. You can copy that and play around with it. I'm sure that once you do that, you'll get the gist of how it works and you can tweak it based on how you want the exact files to be made as well. Now, once that done, now that was the most trickiest part. We're having a limit node because inside this loop over item, it will actually give us a ton of data, right? So each of these folders it created, it sums up everything and will give us a ton of data inside the done part. So if you go over here, we have 12 items for every single folder that we created. Now we do not want 12 items as it will create 12 ClickUp folders inside ClickUp as well, and we do not want that. And if you have the same name for multiple ClickUp folders, it'll just go ahead and give you an error as well that I'll show you shortly. So initially what now we're going to do is we're going to pin everything till end so we don't run it again. So easily I'm just going to select all. I'm going to type P on my keyboard. It's going to pin every single node now. Now afterwards we're going to run this limit node, so it only we only proceed with one of the output. Instead of the 12 items, we only want one item, so we can just create one ClickUp folder. Now if you go to this HTTP node will go step by step on how I created this. The way I created this was I went to ClickUp's API documentation. I went to the specific endpoint that I needed, and I just copied that curl and saw what variables we needed, and it's just filled that variable in. If I'm sure if you guys give this to Claude Code, copy this, give to Claude Code, and tell him what you need, it'll just give you the exact build as well. It's a little hack that I keep on using and save me a ton of time going through all of the documentation. But initially, what it needs is the space ID and the template ID. Now, the way to do is now you're gonna go back to ClickUp and you're gonna click on any of these folders that you want. So ClickUp works and you have a workspace folder, and you have the subfolders inside that workspace. So you're gonna go back to the workspace that you want that folder to be created in. So for my instance, I'm just gonna go to this instance, and you're gonna see 759063758. Now you're gonna be seeing a lot of numbers, but essentially after PR is equal to, you're gonna copy this one, go back to HTTP request, and you're going to paste this into the space v2 id right over here. That's it. That's the space ID we need for in order to us to create a folder inside ClickUp workspace, right? Now the second variable we need is a folder ID. Now since we are creating folders based on a template, we need to have that template ready. Now in order to create that template is really simple. You're going to go to any one of these folders that you want to replicate. You're going to click on these three dots. You're going to go ahead and click on templates and save as templates. Once you save that as template, you can name it whatever you want. Just save that template over here. Once you save that, you're going to go ahead and go to your template center. You're going to open your template center, and you're going to search for that specific template that you created. So for my instance, I created this one. Click on share, public share. I mean, I'm sure there's a better way to do that as well, but for this instance, I'm just going to go with it because that's how I did it. Once you have copied that uh, share button, go to any of the URL, copy that. Now if you can see, the URL is category T minus 01684 slash 0f11 blah blah blah. Now after that T slash, that means that's your template ID. You're going to copy that template ID, you're going to go back to the HTTP request, and if I could pull that up, right here it is, and you're going to paste that ID right about over here. That is exactly what you have to do. That's basically all you have to do except the API token, right? You have to go ahead and set up your API token as well. Now as for that, once that done, the URL has been set with, we're gonna go with the header, so the accept application JSON and authorization, and just gonna go ahead and paste your API key over here. I'm gonna blur this so you guys don't steal it. Nice try. Now, as for the body, we're going to just send the body based on the client's name. So we need to have a name for the folder to be created, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have a simple JSON. So curly bracket name within the quotation marks, and we're going to drag the client name from the set node that we initially created, paste that in, and end that with the proper JSON formatting. That's it. That's the body that we're going to sending with using JSON, and that's about it. So now if you see that, if I just go ahead and trigger this workflow as well, it'll create an exact template with all of the automations, all of the statuses, everything. Initially it took like 15 to 20 minutes to create within just one HTTP request. So if I go back to my uh, ClickUp, and as you can see over here, it's called Honorific Labs. It created the folder with all of the tasks and services and automations as well that we need. Initially a couple of the stuff as well, but based on your templates it might be different. So just wanted to keep a high level as well. So except after that we're having a wait node. So we're waiting 5 seconds to just let that folder settle in and be created, so we can create tasks inside ClickUp folder as well. So once that done, we're creating we are getting task from the ClickUp. So in order to create a task inside ClickUp, we need the task ID. So in order to get that task ID, we're getting the list. My bad. In order to create a task inside ClickUp, we need the list ID. Now, in order to get that list ID, we have to get the list or all of the lists ID directly from ClickUp as well. So in order to get that variable that's called list.id, we're calling the ClickUp node, and we're just setting the folder name or the ID that you will be getting from this N8N, this HTTP request. Once you run it, you'll get something like the ID, the name, and all of that good stuff. but don't worry about that. We only need the ID. You're just gonna call get that and paste that inside. Now inside get many list, create a ClickUp account. You can one click sign in as well. It's really simple if you're on N8N Cloud. If you're on self-hosted N8N, you have to get your API key. I'm sure you can figure that out. It's not that difficult. Just go ahead and go to settings, and there will be a feature called API key as well. Now once you do that, once you run it, you'll get the task ID. So once you get the task ID, you're good to go. That is all we need in order to create list ID. Once you get the list ID, you're good to go. That is all we need in order to create task inside that specific list. So I'm gonna okay. Now once you do that, you're gonna get a note, or basically you'll just get that template as well. You're gonna one click sign in with your ClickUp task again. The operation is create. You're gonna select the specific workspace that this specific folder is. You're gonna uh, get the space name as well, and all you have to do right now is you have to get the folder ID. Now there are two ways to do that. I'm sure we're getting the folder ID from over here as well. So once you run get many list, you'll get the folder ID as well inside the get many list as well. Or you can just get copy this ID and paste that inside as well from the http suite that you ran. Both are similar. And once you do that, that's done. The folder ID is name. Now you need the list name on the ID. So basically, since we are running the workflow and we want it to be dynamic, we'll just copy this, drag this, and go ahead and drop it in the list ID part. So now both of these variables are set with, and now all we need is we need to create a task, and we have to name that task. So my instance, I have named my task access sheet, and the progress is in progress. The way to do is you're just gonna go add field, and you're gonna go ahead and see something like add a status or the status name or ID. You have to just type in the status that you want, that is specifically inside your ClickUp ID, ClickUp workspace. So once you set that out, once you do that, you're going to run this again, and that's all you have to do. Now you can duplicate that exact flow for this node as well. Since we're creating two tasks inside that specific ID or specific workspace, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing, but for this we're going to name it differently and set the status differently as well, because these two are different tasks. Now we're going to run this as well. So we will be sending two tasks. Now that's initially the part of the high level, right? Creating folders, creating ClickUp workspace, and setting up tasks inside ClickUp, right? That's the high level, and that's the most difficult part, that if you are non-technical, that you will be, getting some difficulty figuring that out. But now that's done, everything except that is really simple logic, and it's really simple. Now, initially, what we're doing right after that is we're just sending a Gmail message based on what we want. So we're just sending a Gmail message based on this email, since that we set from that I got from my set node, that I just went ahead and set it like client name, copy that, client email, copy that, and get in your email, and that's all right. Now you're going to execute that as well. Once you do that, initially afterwards, what we're doing is we're copying a file inside Google Space, Google Drive. Now it might look different in your instance. You can tweak it however you want. That's why I'm just giving you a high level and giving you the blueprint as well, so you can tweak it however you want. But initially what we want is, if you remember in the 7 file creation in the loop node, and like a ton of code node that I thought that I would never figure out, but Claude could help me. We created a specific file or the specific format inside that folder. So what we're going to do is we're just copying that file inside that specific folder as well. So honorific lab access sheet, since we already have created that access sheet somewhere over here, right? What we're doing is we're just giving it a name and copying that Google sheet inside that same folder. So we can just go ahead and share that file. Why we're doing is because we want the specific ID for that specific Google sheet, so we can share that with the client in Gmail as well. If we don't do that, we can just directly share them. And if I feel like figuring out how to just extract the ID from this mess was way far difficult, so I just copied that and shared that file initially as well. So we're gonna run that as well, so you guys can see how it works. It's gonna, well, just, just run it till here. So it's gonna go ahead and copy that file, share that file with everybody. It's gonna wait a few minutes, probably 15-20 minutes, but in our instance it'll wait pretty quickly. Once it does that, it'll just go ahead and send that access sheet email as well via simple. You don't have to worry about on a high level how it works, but basically it's just simple steps that actually create the highest ROI as well. So once that done, I'll circle back to you guys as well. Okay, so once this scenario is done, what we're doing is copying that file, sharing that file, and sending that Excel sheet to the client. Now, keep in mind that this is a production automation. It's not that messy, and it's built for production use case. I actually built for one of my clients, for from Honorific Labs, so it's bulletproof and it's already good to run. But you might have mentioned that, or might have saw that there's no AI involved in this, any of that 100 and I don't know how many step nodes. There's no AI because it's pretty deterministic, and it does not have probability. Like, AI is used for judgment and for its intelligence. For this instance, we do not need any intelligence. We just need a step-by-step node that the workflow can follow. So if AI is not needed, do not push it. That is my highest recommendation if you're just going ahead and creating production grade N8N workflow for your client. Anyways, so once that done, same process over here. Drag that, the Gmail, the node, set up your uh, email, whatever you want, and just send that to the client as well, right? Let me just spin that for your use case as well. Once that done, we're doing the same thing. We're just actually setting up this access task ID and the citation task ID, because we're going to be needing that in order to update the ClickUp tasks as well. So the way to do it is, once you create a task, you'll get the ID as well. Copy that. Once you create the second task, get that ID, drop that inside. That's all you need to do. So once that's done, come on, man. Once that done, we're waiting a few days, hopefully like 1 or 2 days. But in this instance, we're going to be using 2 seconds. We're checking that if the, let's just run this, and I'll just explain it to you while it's running. We're waiting a few days, and we're getting the sheets that we sent to that client. That's why we need to copy that and get that ID as well, so we can incorporate that inside get sheets node, and we can see if that ID has been filled out or not. For this instance, I actually did not went ahead and, yeah, I did not fill that, so it'll just go ahead and give me false one. So the way it works is, it'll obviously depends on different use cases, but for my use case, the client has a specific uh, Google Sheet. Let me just show that to you as well. So if I go to my Gmail, I'll just pull that open and show you guys as well. Okay, now that's the Google Sheet. So if you can see on the E column, there's a check mark that's called done. We're initially watching this specific check marks. So if all of these are done, we're good to go. That means this access field has been filled. If they're empty, it means that we're not good to go. The way that it looks like inside N8N is basically, if you can see in this instance, we have a column called done and it's false, which means that we have not clicked that initially, right? Right. So we're having a logic inset that we're aggregating all of those rows, that we are aggregating all of the individual done rows into one single array, and we're checking it against an if node, that if all of these rows are false, do not go to the false branch, which means that it has not been filled. If it is true, go to the true branch, that means it has been filled, right? Very simple for that. Now what we're going to do is spin this one as well, so we don't rerun it again and again. But yeah, as for the Gmails, as you can see, I got 2 emails. I'm sure I don't need to show you that as well, but wanted to. So now, this is the juicy part, right? So as you can see, it like branches off into various ways. So let's just take a step back and see how it works. Now, if the access sheet has been filled, we need to send them another sheet called citation sheet, right? If it has not been filled, we need to go ahead and follow back to them and nudge them like, hey man, so you haven't filled this, go ahead and fill this, here's the URL again. So that's what's happening in this if node. If it has been filled, it'll go through this branch, it'll copy that same folder, go ahead and share that and send that email, and actually update the clicker class as well. Now in this lower one portion, it'll just send an email nudging them saying, hey man, following up, here's a URL, go ahead and send that. Waiting a bit again, probably 1 or 2 days, doing this exact same thing, checking the sheet, aggregating all of them and checking if it has been true or false. If it's true, it'll just go to this node. The logic is exactly the same as above. You can just copy paste it directly as well. And this node, copy that, paste it over here, checking that, copying that file, sharing that and sending that email for citation sheet and updating the URL again. If it the Excel sheet has not been filled, it'll just go ahead to this one, following up again for the last time, and just sending an internal email as well saying, man, we just follow up 3 times. That dude is really stubborn, is not filling up. Just give him a call or whatever. Just have that dude just fill out that sheet as well. And then we're just going the exact same thing. We're copying that citation sheet, sharing that and sending an email. Then going ahead and updating that specific task inside ClickUp. And we're just doing that again and again for that specific logic until we are done with 3 follow-ups. So if you can just go ahead and see, all of this is basically duplicates of one another. So once you have done with this one single branch, you can actually copy and paste it directly. It's more of a logic that if the person has not filled out how we would handle that. So it's more of a bulletproof system. That's why I won't go node by node inside every single node. It'll take like hours for me to do that. So basically what you can do is copy the exact template that will be inside the description and try it out for yourself as well. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and run it end to end and show you how it works. So we have sent that first access sheet node, and now we're going to be checking that if it has been filled or not. For this instance, obviously we're not going to be filling it. We'll just go to this branch, we'll send the follow-up message, wait a bit, and check again and see if it has been filled or not. And then obviously we're not going to be filling that. We'll just go again in this instance and send the last follow-up, and then send us a citation email, the citations Google Sheet email. And then let's just go ahead and update the task for the for the access sheet to be on hold. I'm going to go and see that in a moment as well once it's done. And it's going to update the task for citation sheet to be in progress. Now once we do that, it's going to wait a bit, and that same logic for the citation sheet will repeat. You'll see the sheet, check if it has been filled or not. If it's not, follow up. If it is, go ahead and update the task and click up a couple of times and just keep it done. That is how these above scenario will work as well. Very simple. Now I don't know why it's not running. I think it's running, but yeah, it's running. It's on the loop over items on the. Let me tell you, it took me like 10 to 20 minutes to figure that part out. If I had not, if, like, I wanted to code it myself, but thank God I Claude code figured it out like in with 10 to 15 minutes. Anyways, once it's like done, I'll just go ahead and show you that as well. It's needing. All right, so what it's doing now is checking the Google Sheet and aggregating and seeing if it has been filled or not. If it has, it'll just go through this branch, send us an email, wait a bit, and do the same thing that I just went ahead and showed you, right? So we'll just let it wait and finish, and we'll just go ahead and see the end result again. Okay, so this part just went ahead and ran itself to completion. So initially what does, again, don't want to repeat myself, but let's just go ahead and see the output. So what it has to send us a couple of emails and update the task inside ClickUp and send us a bunch of citation info required, action required reminders, so a bunch of follow-ups, and a bunch of actually going ahead and telling them that initially what we are doing. A lot of Gmails sending the exact Google Sheet. So if we go back to ClickUp, all right, if you can see, both of these are on hold because we did not fill them out. If it was filled out, we'll just go ahead and do it on approved. And if it was not, we'll just go ahead and set on hold and send us a nudge on email as well. So initially that was on a high level. All of these branches basically work the same as this beneath one. So I don't want to just go ahead and go to both of these branches. It'll to make too much time and confuse you even more. But if you go back to the PPC node, if you can see, the logic is exactly the same end to end except this folder creation. So we want to create a different folder style or the structure in this instance, but everything else is exactly the same. We're setting up the task inside the ClickUp templates ID. We're getting the list, so we can get the list ID. We're creating the task. We're sending an email. We're copying the files. We're sharing the files. We're sending that exact message, and we're just following up and see if it hasn't been filled, if it has been filled or not, and just following up and updating the task accordingly. But this one is way simpler, and this one is like a behemoth of a workflow. Why is that? Because both of these serve different functionalities. That's why we want to uh, routed based on the service we are providing, right? Not every single service we provide is the same, and not every single onboarding for that service we provide is the same as well. So you can get this exact template inside the description below. I don't know how many nodes it is, but it's like 100 plus nodes. It actually took me like an hour or 2 hours to actually build this exact workflow end to end. So if you want to just go ahead and see that, be my guest. Would love for you to guys to get it and manipulate and play around with it if you want. All right, thanks for sticking around for this instance. I know it was too much and the scenario was very lengthy for me to actually go ahead and explain it to you in depth. And hopefully, the way I explained, you grasp the initial concept and you can just implement that in your business or just sell that to other businesses that has the exact same problem. So that's all from my side. Thank you for sticking around and till next time. Bye bye.